Going to hit that. Hey, live universe, it's Nathan and my special guest, Janet Carlson. We're going to hit the record button in just a moment, but if you could tell everybody, hi, Janet.
Hey, guys, how you doing?
So we are going to be talking about how to put, how Janet is putting pharmaceutical waste to work. That's the title of her talk, or that's a related title. That's kind of my title as opposed to the title. I don't want to forget to ask you to do this. I'm not being the creepy kid from The Shining. This is what I want you to do over the share button. Help Janet spread the message. It's a real theme today with other people that I've been on Facebook Live with. We've talked with an award-winning civil rights attorney who has herself corrected a lot of misconceptions in the opioid crisis right now. That was just an hour or so ago. Janet's certainly doing her part right now by taking all of this horrible waste and basically recycling it, making sure that there's less waste and that it's more intelligently directed. Because I don't want to get into this right now because we're not recording, but it was kind of staggering, all of the waste there is. So without me spilling the beans, we're going to go live here in just a moment. Are you ready, Janet?
I am.
All right, very good. And because I have the bio on the phone, I'm going to prep my phone here, so I'm ready to go. All right, we are live in 3, 2. We are live with Janet Carlson. Janet?
Hello.
Are you ready to talk?
I'm most ready to talk. Thank you.
After 11 years of working in Big Pharma and Madison Avenue, Janet Carlson founded one of the first digital healthcare advertising agencies. 111 Interactive morphed into the 111 Group, at which Janet is CEO and creative director for copy. She recently launched the Whole CEO, a CEO and executive coaching service. Janet Carlson, welcome to the talk.
Happy to be here, Nathan. Thanks for inviting me.
Well, your talk is called How Can Pharmaceutical Waste Go from Problem to Solution? There were all kinds of staggering statistics about the amount, the dollar amount, the physical amount, all of the waste that is happening out there in the industry. But before we talk about some of those things, I think I was raised the same way. I think we had the same parents because it was all, it was all leftovers and frugality and hating the waste and all that. And I really love that you kind of morph from that into the work that you have been doing for so many years. So please just take us behind the talk, Janet.
Sure. My mother was less pleased. May I just be honest? Because the fact that her Thursday soup was besmirched or made fun of or what have you. She's still mad at it.
It was less than a ringing endorsement. So Talk Universe, terrible. Janet talks about how they basically repurpose food, and she grew up in, I believe, a military family.
Military family.
And so you didn't have a whole lot of extra largesse. Right. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday came around, and there was
Everything
Thursday
from
soup.
The week before was Thursday soup. And, but on the good side, it made Friday's fish sticks look awful good.
Yeah.
So, but I did work in the pharmaceutical industry, specifically for Pfizer. I was one of the reps who did carry samples. At the time, this was in the late 80s, samples were quite welcome. Now, scroll forward. I started the company in 1994 after doing a stint on Madison Avenue in medical advertising. One of the things that I realized after 9/11 was that I was going to need to come up with some new ideas for business. And one of them happened to be delivering samples to doctors. And we created a software system to deliver samples to doctors via mobile phone through Epocrates, which is a great idea. It was certainly a better way to get samples to doctors. The problem was still $2 billion of samples were getting wasted, thrown out. The other issue is the doctors' offices had to keep track of these samples. And when they expired and you gave out expired product, that could be a problem too. The good news out of this whole TED Talk was that I connected with most of the pharmaceutical companies, and they've since changed policy. Most pharma companies are really limited sampling, and the good news on the other side is most doctors aren't taking samples. So, and when I looked at all that and I realized the impact we were able to have, I think mission accomplished. And there's very few people who can actually say mission accomplished, but I think it's true in this case, that there was awareness brought to the world of we're wasting all these samples, they're getting thrown out and now polluting our planet. And doctors said, I don't want the responsibility of drugs that are outdated. So as a result, very few doctors now, I think it's less than 25% of physicians are actually accepting samples now.
Wow.
So even if you show up with a bag full of samples, chances are you're not going to get to leave them. And you actually see a lot of signs in doctors' offices that say, yeah, no thanks, no reps, no samples, bye-bye. So
it seems like the whole, the pharmaceutical sale, the pharmaceutical rep, the dinners, all of that stuff has really changed, and it's been kind of a bloated model. Janet, for your benefit, Talk Universe knows this about me, that I come from a healthcare family. So when you're talking about the back room at the doctor's office, I know exactly what that looked like for me growing up, and why. I mean, it's very smart to solve the problem that you did and work yourself out of a job literally like you did. Yes. And one reason is because what doctor, what physician wants to incur even more potential liability for someone to just kind of swipe a couple of extra meds off the shelf? Yes. I mean,
it was risky all around. It's just opening up a whole can of worms.
Oh my gosh.
But what they were doing basically is someone probably once a year, maybe twice a year, would go through the closet and say, oh my God, we have expired samples. We have a crazy amount. And they would take them and throw them in the dumpster. So then you have an opportunity where people can take those drugs and sell them on the street. Now, again, most of these drugs, I mean, if you're not going to get high off of, acetaminophen samples or, some amoxicillin samples. I mean, nothing's happening. But, for people who don't know, and maybe they have an amoxicillin, allergy problem. And so, you buy drugs on the street. It's like you see, it's a whole can of worms. What I realized was I really did not want to be in that business anymore. So I had an offer from one of my competitors to buy the company. I did not actually want to go to work for them doing the same thing. So I politely turned that down. And I just backed out of the business. So we basically stopped sampling. I think it was 3 years ago. We stopped doing any of the sampling software. And I actually feel really good about that. It was a huge money generator, but you have to move on. And I think, nowadays when I have people that I'm working with, I actually started a nonprofit about that time that actually help people get access to medicines. It's now called Health Pathfinder. Mm-hmm. If you need help getting health insurance or access to medicines that you can't afford or healthcare advocacy, my team actually will help you do that. So I had a full team that, we wanted to turn all of our expertise into good. So all of us had a healthcare background. All of us were really great on the computer. All of us had worked in health insurance, pharmaceuticals, and with hospitals. So we said, let's take our expertise and turn it to something that we can be good at. So we started doing that on the side. So
Janet,
it's not something
if you can go back to the previous sentence, because we had a slow down and my audio guy is going to clip this out. But if you can restart at the previous sentence.
Okay. At the Health Pathfinder? Mm-hmm. Okay. So when we realized we weren't going to continue using the software, which was called Sample Server, we started a nonprofit called Health Pathfinder. So this is a company that helps people get access to health insurance, medicines they can't afford, or if they need healthcare advocacy, they can get help there. This is something we do part-time. When someone, we'll get probably 10 to 20 calls a week, and we just handle them, and then we go back to doing our regular work. During the health insurance sign-up period, we're much busier, but we usually do it during the weekends. So we've taken software that we needed to move away from because it felt wrong, and it morphed into something that felt really good. So I think it's been a very interesting experience for our team.
Janet, what's the website for Health Pathfinder?
Healthpathfinder.org.
.org, okay.
I will double check that, but I'm pretty sure it's .org.
Because,
I always screw that up.
Yeah, Talk Universe, when you watch Janet's actual talk, you're finding out, I mean, this whole thing about reducing medical waste, pharma waste, that's only part of the talk. I mean, I must say, Janet, you talked faster than any other talk that I have reviewed. When I review my talks,
yeah.
Yeah,
Is that right?
yes, you have, because I
That's fun.
usually review them by watching them double speed, and I could
Sure.
barely keep up with with
I know.
yours.
Well, you can take
So,
the girl out of New York, but you
yeah.
can't take the
Well,
New Yorker out of the girl, apparently.
I mean that as a compliment, because that's only half the talk. All this reducing of waste and
Yeah.
risk and everything that we're talking about. The other half that we haven't even gotten to, because I'm slowing us all down here, is that you're finding those who have not and have challenges, and there is a reception gap from the people that need to be able to receive these drugs that are not expired yet, and you're actually matchmaking and you're solving massive problems. So if you can just talk a little bit more of that piece and kind of bring it together for us, Janet.
Yeah, sure. We just really, we felt that it was important. Sorry, my screen is acting weird. We just felt it was important to take the skills that we had, and we saw a need in the world to be able to help them still get access to the medicines, because most people can't afford medicines. There's plenty of people that are taking an average, people who are over 60 are taking an average of 13 products. 13. Yeah. So if you're not on Medicare, which is over 65, you've got that gap. Usually between 60 and 65 is when they get in the most trouble. So if you can avoid them going to medications in the first place, that's one thing. But if you're already on these, then you're going to have to pay for them. So one of the things we really help do, because samples really aren't as available as much, is we can actually reach out to the manufacturer and say, hey, I've got Bob Jones. He's taking 12 other drugs. We need to get some help paying for his products. So they have patient assistance programs, and most of the time patients can't understand how to use these programs. Usually it's a one-page fax, and it's within 400% of federal poverty level. So you can make a decent amount of money and still get help paying for your drugs.
So
and
for up to four times poverty line wages can still qualify.
Yes. Yep. So it's 400% of federal poverty level. So, I mean, federal poverty level is pretty crappy, by the way, but 400 times that is not too bad. So you can make
four times that, correct? 400%?
400% of federal poverty level.
Okay.
Yep.
Excellent.
So, it's just one of these things where, it's also healthcare advocacy, because a lot of people, they get their hospital bills and they just say, oh, well, I owe $10,000, and they start paying $10 a month. A lot of times there are errors. They don't know the questions to ask. They don't say, oh, I think I was double billed here. So those are things where we can help look at that. We've also created a relationship with the healthcare advocate. Our state is lucky enough to have a Connecticut state healthcare advocate. These are Yale and Harvard people who do nothing except help fight insurance issues. So if you have a problem, you've got a bill that you think is wrong, you don't have access to a drug or anything, you can call the state healthcare advocate and get assistance. So if we can't solve the person's problem, we bring in brilliant lawyers to help us fight. And it's free, completely free to anybody in the state of Connecticut.
All
so
right.
it's pretty impressive.
Talk Universe, if you live in Connecticut, you've got to find out about that. If you have a problem and you live in Connecticut, maybe you can call Janet, and she has this A-team of amazing people that can come and fight on your behalf. I hope that spreads to other states, and maybe the laws change so that it can spread to other states. But in any case, we've been enjoying this riveting conversation with Janet Carlson. Her talk is called How Can Pharma Waste Go From Problem to Solution? We're going to come right back in just a moment with Janet Carlson, because it is time in just a moment for the Blitz Round.
Fun.
And we're back with Janet Carlson. It is time for the Blitz Round, in which I am going to ask Janet a series of either-or questions related to the preparation and performance of her recent branded talk. Janet, are you ready?
Of course I am.
All right. First question, were you selected to speak or did you apply?
I was selected to speak.
Are you a memorizer, an improviser, or a blender?
All the above.
How'd that work for you?
What was interesting is I had my speech mostly memorized, and they changed it completely. I think they did that by design, because they saw that I had my story kind of down, and they wanted me to improvise more, so they shoved me right off the block. It really upset me, but then I realized I gave 300 times better speech. You could see I was a little uncomfortable at the beginning. They completely changed the beginning, which freaked me out. I was very, wigged out about it. But what I realized was it was much more genuine. It came from a storytelling standpoint, not a rehearsed standpoint, which is a big difference.
Well,
was
that's amazing.
long-winded.
So really the answer to that question is you were the memorizer, and then literally they switched the talk. What did they say? I've never heard of this before.
I think it's part of the formula. I think they try to take you out of your comfort zone. The fortunate / unfortunate thing was the person who was in charge of the conference knew me. So I think he'd seen me speak a number of times and knew that I was a fluent speaker. I think he wanted to flip me out. I think he wanted to make me uncomfortable, and it was brilliant. I mean, I think that he just wanted me to tell a story, not speak. You know what I mean?
Okay.
There's a difference.
So are you still colleagues on good terms or friends today, or did that?
He was amazing. I mean, it was like I said, it was a very uncomfortable experience. I prepared for 6 months, as I'm sure you did. I took it very seriously, and I was prepared at every step. And at the last minute, he just took a bat and just right upside the head. But it was the best thing for me. He did ask me to speak again, and I said, no, no, not right now. And I was like, hell no. So I said, I need, it was 2 years later. And I said, right now, I don't have anything that I'm as passionate about. And I think to give a TED Talk that really resonates, it has to come from here, not here. Well, and I didn't have anything that was as deep.
So, Janet, I'm just thinking of that saying in Texas, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me.
Right. Yeah, no, that's completely right.
So this is your one and only TEDx talk.
I will give another one. I will give another one.
Okay.
But I think I need a little time to get over the wound, to heal slightly. It was a hard process. I found it to be very tiring, very worthwhile. I think, the interesting outcome for as many speeches as I've given, and I've given 1,000 speeches, I'm never nervous, but now I'm not, my heart rate doesn't even pick up one bit. I can stand up, anytime I'm asked to speak, I speak for the most part, if I can. And my heart rate doesn't increase at all. Like my breathing doesn't change at all. I say to myself, I gave a TED Talk. Bring it. And I think that's a big advantage. I think people, what they don't realize is that if you really master speaking, public speaking, because 99% of people would take a bullet to the head before they'd stand up in public. As a result of this whole TED Talk, I actually got roped into teaching at our local school because the kids need to learn these skills. And, I showed them the TED Talk. I showed them, where I was a little bit nervous at the beginning. And I said, but I leaned into it. And that's what you're going to have to do too. But I'm fearless now.
Bravo.
I blew your blitz. I think I blew your blitz there by blabbing too much.
No, it's great. It's great. No, I mean, it sounds like they kind of yanked the rug. It was a premeditated act of assassinating your talk.
By plan, absolutely. That's okay. I just rolled with it, and I grew as a result.
Well, and Talk Universe, this is highly irregular, and it sounds like there's an ongoing professional, long-time relationship.
Yes.
And the organizer had seen Janet and her style many, many, many times, and had premeditated and apparently pulled it off. Bravo to you, madam. Bravo to him or her, the organizer that
Richie Edwaru. I'm calling him out. Richie Edwaru. Brilliant guy, smart, funny, charismatic. I wanted to kill him, but I grew from the experience, so I'm okay with that.
So Talk Universe, this is why we have the podcast. Find out little tidbits like this. And no, please do not freak out. This will probably not happen to you. I've done 200 plus interviews the first time that I've heard of this happening. Last question for you. And you've already told me what's the most unexpected thing that happened right before your talk. We've been laughing about that. I've been laughing at this. You've been kind of grieving it a little bit. The question I'll leave you with, last question, what's a tip, technique, or a tool that helped you prepare for this?
Do the work. Do the work. I think the thing is they have different stages that they want you to prepare for. And if you don't prepare as they've asked, you won't perform as they expect. Mm-hmm. So I think you can't phone it in. This is not a last minute thing. You have to set your schedule and you have to deliver, on time. And then, be ready for the unexpected. I did have 6 cameras in my face. I didn't expect that. But you know what? I leaned into it. And I think, lean into that discomfort. So do the work. Lean into the discomfort. Own it. Because when you walk off that stage, you did a TED Talk. And 99.9% of the world never will. So you have something that no one can take away from you. So you better rock it. That's what I have to say.
We've been enjoying this riveting conversation. I said riveting before. I'm going to say it again with Janet Carlson. Her talk, How Can Pharma Waste Go from Problem to Solution? You can type that in old school in YouTube, or you can go to our show notes page at bethetalk.com. We will have a clickable link where you can watch that, see all the good that Janet is doing in the world, especially in the state of Connecticut. Sounds like amazing, amazing resources that we've talked to, and I'll also include that link in our show notes of healthpathways.com is healthpathfinder.org.
Right.
And you want to check out the link to connect with Janet at thewholeceo.com. And there are other links that we will also include in the show notes page. And we will be right back with Janet Carlson in just a moment for the final word of advice. And we're back with Janet Carlson. It is time for the final word of advice to Talk Universe.
The final word of advice. I think if you have an idea that keeps you up at night and that you're passionate about, that you should stop thinking about it and stop talking about it to your grandmother and start doing it. And you have a risk of failure, but so what? Most people never ever take that challenge. And if there's something that you know is going to change the world, stop sitting on your butt and thinking about it and go out and do it.
Takes one to know one, and Janet certainly walks the walk. Janet Carlson, thank you so much for coming on the talk today and sharing your advice with Talk Universe.
It was absolutely my pleasure, Nathan. Thank you so much.
All right, that's a wrap.
Excellent.
It's the shortest 20 minutes of our life here.
Well,
all right. Hey, live universe, we are still live on Facebook Live, so I'm going to wave goodbye to you. If you are watching this and we're not quite live anymore, you can still leave a comment or a question for Janet. If you live in Connecticut, you want to find out about these resources, and again, do the share. Let's blast this out. There are people in Connecticut between the ages of 60 and 65 in particular that can really, really, really be helped. Any final word to Live Universe, Janet?
I think it's just, follow the links. If you have questions, don't hesitate to reach out, because there's always someone willing to help you. And if we're not the ones to help you with that specific problem, I promise you we'll find someone who can.
All right. Take care, everybody. Thank you.